Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? We're all doing very, very well. Now, of course, running true to form after the huge heat wave that we've had in the UK this week. And I've been inside doing videos and dripping with sweat. I thought, let's do an outdoorsy one. Yeah, let's go out into the outer realms of Kilt Mansion. Or rather, the innermost realms of Kilt Mansion. Because it actually goes back quite a bit there, but none of us venture too far beyond the first line of trees. We don't do that because the land of the dead exists out there, quite literally, because it's a cemetery just over there. Now, we've had sweltering heat, record-breaking temperatures in the UK, and then when I come out here today, it's overcast, it's dull, it's cloudy, and it's raining. It's not cold though. I mean, you think with the term heat wave you get the sun as well, but there's still plenty of heat here. So anyway, right, now got a box. A mystery item has been sent to me by Stevie-Boy Docherty, my blood brother on the northern frontier. I know what it is. Oh, I think I do. Me and Stevie-Boy are massive fans of Indian culture, Native Americans, and their customs, their warfare, their tribal life, their society, their history. And we discuss it quite a lot. And I know that he's mentioned Tomahawks quite a bit, and he also took delivery himself of a polycarbonate version of the Chingachgook, Last of the Mohicans, gunstock war club, which I don't think he was too happy with because it was polycarbonate, and he wants to take a mould of it and then make one in wood, and then hopefully, if I say it live on camera, he's going to send me one as well. Because it is an awesome bit of kit. So let's just bring that back online. Now, in here, let's just show you this. There's the box, right? This came from the Netherlands, right? From a company called Knives and Tools. I know them. And what I think is in here, folks, is a tomahawk. It is not a gunstock war club. Or it could be a big peace pipe. I've just thought, it could be anything, couldn't it? I think we're talking weaponry, and I think we're talking a tomahawk. That's what I think. So, before the actual weather really does start coming down, because I've got a feeling it's going to, let's use another cultural blade. My ski and do, my Scottish dirk. What does it do, folks? Regular viewers know. It lives down your wee booty, down the side of your boot. For whenever things get a bit rough and tumble, and you reach down and hey, you know. A lot of them are fake these days, where there's no blade. It's all like one sealed unit of rubber, vulcanized rubber or something like that. But no, that's a real one, folks. You know, you've seen it a million times. Those of you who can cast their mind back to watching a mask unboxing I did on American Werewolf in London, and it was the Bull Demon mask from the Nightmare sequence. As a final flourish, I snipped the tag, the Trick or Treat Studios tag off the mask, and slit right through that finger there, that one there, down to the bone, on camera. Oh yeah, that went good. Now imagine the damage I can do with a tomahawk. So anyway, folks, I'm saying it's a tomahawk. If it isn't, then I'll have to rethink what I was going to do with this video quite quickly. So I'm going to get into this now. Now, Knives and Tools have a company, have an outlet in America and in the UK as well. But this one came from the Netherlands, and it arrived yesterday. And I was going to do the video out here last night while it was still nice and sunny. And but sadly, I was in the pub and Mrs. Kilt-Man came to meet me in the pub, and we stayed a bit too long. Ooh, right. Okay. Let's see if we can get into this. Okay. I need that now. Packaging. Oh, I'm right, because it has told me what it is. You're going to read that there. It is the Crkt Woods Chogan T-Hawk Tomahawk Ryan Johnson design. Now, Ryan Johnson is the prime mover and shaker of CRKT. CRKT stands for Columbia River Knives and Tools, and he's based in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he's been doing knives and axes and outdoors bushcraft gear for decades, and I believe he supplies law enforcement and the military as well, because the military use tomahawks. Speaking of which, was I right? I can already see that it was right. Right, we have to sharpen your own knives. If you're buying stuff like this, you really should know how to do that anyway. But, you know, at least it's there. So, what have we got? CRKT, Columbia River Knives and Tools. Now, I'm thinking that's a tomahawk in there with a detached head. I'm thinking confidence in hand. Let's see. Well, I say I'm thinking. It says, doesn't it? It says on the note, on the shipping note. Oh, I'd be needing this again. Let's see what we got here. Tell you what, let's get rid of that. Wait a minute. Protect these blades from the rain. There's the shaft. Right. It's hickory. It's American hickory. No, it is hickory. They tend to be made out of hickory anyway. And I know that Ryan Johnson does a lot of stuff out of hickory anyway. It's proper good hardwood. So right, we have that. Somewhere in here. Oh, there's the Tomahawk head, the hawk itself. Every culture in the world has had tomahawks or something like them. The Franks are the ones who specialised in throwing these things, and then Native Americans had a similar sort of idea. By the way, throwing tomahawks, the hawk itself will last a hell of a long time. The shaft will not. But what tended to happen in North American frontier days, what you would do, you would buy that, or you trade that trading post, and then you just make your own shaft. And what would happen, when that shaft broke, you just make a new one. Very simple. So here's the head. Right, we have hammer, maul on one side. Some would have a spike. They'd be more weaponized, obviously. We have engraved on the back there to say Woods Chogan, RMJ. RMJ is the I think that's the survival school that Ryan Johnson runs with other veterans, and every sale they make, they donate to veterans charities. So awesome stuff, guys. We have the blade protector. Now let's just see if this is sharp. No, it's not. Well, knowing this company, you've got to sharpen the blades, but that's not an issue really. Right, so there's your blade. There's your typical sort of tomahawk shape. As I say, you've got a maul on one side, so that's used for banging your tent pegs in, banging wooden staves, banging someone's skull. We don't do that these days. But a variety of uses as well. A lot would have a spike on the end. They'd be more weaponized. This is more bushcraft, although it can still be used as a weapon. Now, what I will say again with CRKT, what happens is they tend to lacquer and varnish the shaft, and wish they wouldn't do that, because you've got no purchase on it, especially not in the rain right now, because the rain's coming down, folks. Yeah, it's coming down. You can probably see little bits and bits of drops and spits and spats filtering past, but so you've got to sand that down to get some more purchase. and there'll be a few other things I'd recommend to do with it as well. Give it a good soaking in linseed oil. That's kind of essential. But yeah, you've got to get that lacquer, that varnish off there. Right, the thin end is down here, so you want that down there. So you're gonna have to, what you do, that's the eye there, and you slide it all the way down, right? So, and then you need somewhere to tap it in. I'm not gonna do it on me beer barrel there. I'm gonna do it over here. Just 1 second. Be back. Talk amongst yourselves. And there you go, folks. There you have a fantastic tomahawk. That, although you can't tell by looking at it, but what tends to be the norm for these is that's going to be 1050, 1055 steel. I would have thought. It is good steel, and you can sharpen that very well, and it'll keep an edge for a while. Exceptionally durable, very, very good. People say, like, hatchet, tomahawk. Hatchets have a bigger head, a bigger blade, and a shorter shaft. Tomahawks have the longer shaft and the smaller blade. People are always actually a bit surprised. Oh, that's a tomahawk. It hasn't got much of a head on it, has it? Much of a blade. It does a lot of damage. Got to remember, this is not just a weapon. It's a hunting tool. It's a bushcraft tool. You can take the head off, and you can, kale wood and all this, and do all your bushcraft, skin animals, take fur off, and all whatever you're doing. Once you sharpen that, it can do a multitude of sins. But you've got to sharpen that. That's actually horrifically blunt, to be honest. But it is what it is. To be honest, if a novice was going to buy this and open the box and it was razor sharp and they took that little protector off, they'd be slicing their fingers open. So, it probably is a wise move, in all honesty. But it'd be nice if it was sharpened, and it'd be nice if they didn't put this varnish on. With the rain coming down now, it's actually showing just how bad that is, because that's sticky, but not in a good way. What I'm going to do to this, because when you work these and you use them, because it's not a fixed head, that will begin to slide down. Inevitably, with use, with chopping, cutting, and especially if you're throwing it, it's going to start coming down. So one way of prolonging its life at the pinnacle of the shaft is to put paracord around it, or leather strapping around it. I'll probably put paracord because I'm crap at working with leather. So I'll wrap paracord around there just to give it an extra bit of a bolster at the top there. But that is fucking lovely. Crkt have a great reputation. I do recommend them, but you have got work to do on these. You have got work to do, but that shouldn't be off-putting in the least. And Stevie-Boy, mate, it's fantastic. I knew what. I don't think there was any kind of real mystery with this. We've been discussing the film Prey a lot. Predator 5, Comanche Indians going up against a predator 300 years ago, and a lot of use of these things. Naru, our female hero, played by Amber Midthunder, we see in the trailers that she's learned how to attach one of these with an elongated cord or rope, so she can hurl this and then bring it back again and catch it. Not saying that was a genuine sort of tactic from the Comanche, or anybody for that matter, but in the context of an action fantasy historical movie, I think that works quite well. Right, so as I say, you've got your maul there for bashing in stuff, and that works great. There's a reason why they're shaped like this, folks. A hatchet has a more broad and continuous sort of blade without this cutaway here. The angle of that, and the reason for that, is weaponized. Now the point of that, whether you be the Franks, whether you be Anglo-Saxons, whether you be Germanic tribes, whether you be Mongols, whether you be Chinese, whether you be Native Americans or Aborigines or South Americans or even Africans, because there's always a variation of this. Close quarter combat, what that did, that there, you would hook someone's leg. If you're going in, and normally you'd have a couple of these, and maybe knives and all sorts of other stuff, and if you were lucky, you had a machine gun as well. But what would happen is, like, as you're going in close, you hook your opponent's leg behind the knee and flip them over, drop them down, bring this down on them. Or you drag them in, you hit them over the top of the head, and you drag them down to hit on the back. Or primarily when it came to sort of the Dark Ages and sort of pre-Dark Ages times with Vikings and all of that, what you'd be doing, you'd be using these to bring down someone's shield. The shield wall was there, and you bring down the shield and you bring up your other axe, your other tomahawk. So there's a lot of thought goes into why these things are shaped like that. Now, I mentioned Vietnam and American GIs. Did I mention Vietnam? I was going to mention Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, the Americans were supplied with more ammunition and supplies in country. Helo drops, they'd be dropped by helicopter, and these things would be on pallets and wrapped up with like steel bands. So you'd have to cut through those steel bands to get to the all-important ammunition and food and beer and drugs. But what you'd have to do, cut through these bands. Now, initially, all they had was their bayonet, which was shit. It's a shit bayonet they used to have there, and you couldn't cut through it. Then they would give, well, their campcraft axe, the sort of group axe for your platoon. Bring that up, bring up the axe. And the axe was crap. But because of certain movies during the 50s, like Davy Crockett and Disney stuff, like, there was a huge resurgence in people interested in outdoorsy style stuff. Plus, on your platoon, you'd have some bushwhacker there, you know, who lived on the land and knows his stuff. You can smell the enemy from 50,000 miles away, you know, and which would be, you know, obviously the American government. and he'd probably sport one of his own of these, and he'd bring that out, and they'd use it. Because of that, you could hook these things off. So the US government began to issue tomahawks to the armed forces. And in fact, most armed forces do have a variant of this for that very reason. Also, that is, you can use that to drag things away, to hook up the bonds of these supply drops. Loads of things. And I said the combat aspect as well. A lot of guys learnt to use them with a hand down here. So they'd use this as a baton for a bit of stick fighting and use all this kind of stuff, taking out points. And then because you've got that, you could go in close, having dropped someone. So there's a variety of ways of using the tomahawk. These Americans knew all of this. They were experts in close quarter combat. They were experts at throwing this. But the best for throwing axes, the best, were the guys that had this. Yes, you see the rainwater dripping off this. I'm going to have some wet cut out for me here after doing this. That's the Frankish Throwing Axe, right? I've done videos on this before. You've seen it before. It bounces. It's designed to bounce. There's a spring in this which will bounce it. A spring in the wood, not a spring actually in it. So what they would do, and the idea, and that's not just the Franks, but the Franks kind of devised this tactic of having loads of these all the way around them and probably in the ground as well. Enemies charging, right, volley fire, and you'd hail these things and he'd bounce chaotically and cause bedlam. Then you'd hail another onslaught, then another one, and then your charging enemy is now in disarray. They're falling over the bodies of the people in front. People behind them have been dropped. So it's only like a straggly line which has come through out of maybe 100 strong. You've probably got a couple of dozen people left who aren't maimed and moaning and tripped over and injured and dead. So then all of a sudden they come out with two of these and just go in, chop, chop, chop. Dinner time. Wonderful stuff. And again, as you can see, look at the shape. Very similar. That curvature, that style. Okay, that's slightly more elaborate, but that's again because it's a bouncing throwing axe. That's designed to be thrown. These can be thrown, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're the greatest because the head will stay, will be great, but the shaft will not. The shaft will break after a few, so you've got to rearm it. But that is a gorgeous bit of kit. I have some more axes here because I took the liberty. I knew, if this wasn't a Tomahawk, then I wouldn't show you any of these. But I have. Here is, and you can see, this is an application of a Tomahawk to a non-warfare sort of situation. What's that, folks? That. See, it's a very Tomahawk shape, but it's not. It's a fixed head. That's a fixed head, so it's running through, and that's rubber. That is a rubber handle, very, very hard. There's a grip on it as well. That axe, folks, is from 1938. That's 1938, and was used extensively in World War II for the auxiliary fire service. So, the multiple uses of the actual blade itself, the use of this, if Jerry parachuted in, yeah, taking you down. No. What that was for was to remove debris, wreckage, hook it in, pull it out. That's the primary function of it in a non-warfare capacity. That spike works great. This, as I say, it's engraved with AVS and Chillingford. Oh, I can't see the actual end of it, but Chillingford or Chillington was the big company. It's one of those two anyway. And it's tested. I don't know if you can see it. Well, you won't be able to see it because I can barely see it myself. But stamped into the vulcanized rubber here, it says tested to 20,000 volts. That's when, like, you're going to go through a cable. Oh shit! Rubber, folks. Rubber. Tested to 20,000 volts. So some safety in mind there. But as you can see, that is very definitely your Tomahawk sort of style, which is brilliant, isn't it? So it's so adaptable. I have another fire service one. Some of you guys stateside will recognise this. That's an American vintage fire axe. Again, pretty much the same sort of size as the British one, Second World War. Slightly broader head, broader blade on it, but you've got the spike there for the same sort of purposes. As you can see here, it's a fixed head. Can you see this? The shaft. This is clamped on to the shaft itself, massively embedded into the wood. Very, very secure. Good weight to it. Fantastic bit of kit. This is an American, this is vintage again. Sort of 20s, 30s, probably 30s onwards. Very similar design to the AFS, sorry, British one. Needs sharpening again, but you know, it is what it is. I don't exactly use these, you know. But I might use this. Once I've sharpened it, some of them, you know, they're so vintage. I don't want to start using them. They just look good. But this, that's right now. That's campcraft. That can go anywhere with you, and the fact that you can remove the head as well, easily packed and all that, so it's great. Obviously, they've got the spike on the other end. This has the maul. Speaking of maul, I did a video on this a good while ago. You talk about maul, a maul axe. How about this whopper? Da, 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 da. Look at that. Oh, and it's got the little hook, so you can do some dragging. You've got all that, and if you wanted to use it weaponized, Big Trouble in Little China style, you could just hook someone's legs up. You could actually hook someone's spine out with that. Don't recommend it, by the way. But look at the maul on that. Oh my god. Boosh! That is grotesque, isn't it? And it's bloody heavy as well, but its weight is great. Now, speaking of weight, let's see if I can stand up, you damn fool. A hatchet tends to have more, it's the weight that carries it through when you're chopping stuff. That's what a hatchet does. That's why it's got a broader blade and it's heavier. It's the weight that's going to bring it down and give you all that power, that force. But a tomahawk, it's lighter, so it's speed that you need to use. You need to use speed to chop and to cut. But it's a much lighter, more dexterous weapon or tool. Now, of course, when you're splitting wood or whatever, so you've gone into a log or whatever, because you've got that there, you can just smack it on the back, you know, with a rock or whatever, and it's going to go through. So, you know, it's incredibly versatile. Let's just see. Woods Chogan, RMJ design. Does that? Yeah. Oh, it's sorry. 1055 carbon steel. Sorry, I didn't read that out before. I didn't see that before. I thought that was a date actually. So I was right. 1055. So you can do a lot. You can do a lot with that. You can sharpen this, and it is the Native American style. Tomahawk. Where's the word tomahawk come from? Anyone? Anyone? You? You? It's an old Algonquin term, and the word translates roughly as cutting or chopping tool, axe. So tomahawk basically means axe. I think it was originally like tomahawk. Tomahawk was the actual word, but you know, obviously, colonials took that tomahawk, and that's the hawk. That is the hawk there. That's just a bit of wood. That's just a bit of wood there. But yeah, you get one of these. Not every company does this, by the way. They don't always lack of these things. I'm not even sure why they've done that, to be perfectly honest. What is the point behind that? Make it give a bit of a shine? I don't know. But in the rain, it feels greasy because of that. So that just proved the point that, look, sand that down. You've got to sand that down to give you a bit more purchase on it. Ideally, you'd like, maybe like sort of carved in, engraved, like checkerboard effect, to give you a bit more purchase. But as I say, I'm going to put like paracord, probably down to about there, wrap paracord around it, which will just keep that a bit more stable and adds a bit of prettiness to it, a bit of decoration. Native Americans would put feathers off these things as well, you know, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. But that is great. So if you fancy yourself as Hawkeye, you can, you know, swing it round, back of the head, skull going through, spine rippage, take people's legs out from under them, and then chop down. Oh, you know, or if you're going camping, just chop some wood and look really cool with it stuffed down your belt. Make sure you put a sheath on it as well. You don't want that point digging into your groin. Not a good day out that one. I'm sure I'll do that at some point live on camera as well, knowing my luck. But there you go, folks. That is fantastic. What's it called again? The Chogan, the Woods Chogan, RMJ design, 1055 carbon steel. There's a serial number 2780 or 2730. Can't quite see what that is. 2730, I think it is. It's a Ryan Johnson design. And as I say, you know, a lot of plaudits to his company. Runs a bush school, a survival school, trains people how to look after these things, and obviously outdoors, craft, and all that kind of stuff, and survival. So, you know, and donates to veterans. Fantastic. And it is a name that it is, you know, they are good blades. They are durable, very, very stable. If you want to buy one where it's sharp out the box, you can do that. But, you know, you've got just a bit of work on that. Half an hour on that, and you're going to get a nice edge on that. Bears are easily removed. I don't mean grizzly bears. Don't remove them. They belong there. But you get a bear on this, it's easily removed on the blade. But great design, love it. I say some of these actually have a peace pipe attached to them as well. I'm not entirely sure whether they ever did that, but it's a nice sort of commemorative sort of design with a peace pipe there, and they've got feathers on them as well. But don't think I want to be smoking one of these, you know what I mean? But that is lovely. Cheers, Steve. That's fantastic. I love it, and it's out in inclement weather right now, and I've got my old colonial hat on. Actually, it's not. It's a Rackham pirate hat, but you know, they may have been there too. They were out in the Caribbean, so you know. And I'm sure some of the crew hefted things like this. I know they did. But that's a beauty, an absolute beauty. Look at it. Again, let's just show you the other ones. The fabulous Frankish Throwing Axe, which bounces. It's like the bouncing bomb, the dam busters. You know, that was the axe busters. You don't want to bust your axe, do you? You know. There's the American vintage fire axe. But it basically is a tomahawk. It's more of a tomahawk than a hatchet. You know, because of... Oh, actually, no, it's a hatchet, isn't it? Because that's the shorter shaft. But it's a tomahawk head to it. So it's a mixture of the two, you know. And there's the British 1938 variant. But possibly far more useful because it's got the vulcanized rubber. Which is really, and that is so hard, that. So hard, you wouldn't believe it. That also has, see, they've thought about a lot of things here. They have, I don't know if you can see, sort of checker grip on it as well, which is wonderful. That ain't going anywhere. That is absolutely severely, you know, stable and durable. That, you know, twin towers coming down, just gone in with these, get all that rubble out. You know, I found those bombs that were in the basement. So, yeah, brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant, Steve. Mate, made up with it. Oh, I should have put the feathers in my hair, shouldn't I? Oh well. I don't want to get them wet. There's a reason why birds get in shelter when it's raining. Don't want to get your feathers wet, do you? So, anyway, there you go. Folks, a fantastic tomahawk. A modern tomahawk, but taking on the traditional aesthetic and raison d'etre. The reason why it's made, that this does exactly that. Very easy to, if you get one of these, very easy to put it on. Although I think there was a little thing in there, I just saw before, it tells you how to put the head on. Why are you going to buy one of these if you don't know what you're doing with it? I'm sure people do though, I'm sure people do. But there you go, that does seem very stable. Obviously you can bash that in again to make, the more you bash it in, you're just driving the thicker bits of wood through the eye of the head and anchoring it all the more. But with use, that will come loose. There's a wrap, folks. With use, that will come loose. And so be quick when you kill that moose. Don't kill moose. Moose are great. So anyway, loving it, folks. Because the rain's coming down a little bit heavier now. I'm going to see you all. Haters. And the last of the tartan Mohicans. Oh no, there is Stevie-Boy Docherty as well. We're the last of the tartan Mohicans.